Good afternoon. I'm Miguel Cardona, Commissioner of Education. Glad to be here at Farmington High School. These last couple months have shaken what we have valued in education for decades. And as if the pandemic of COVID was not enough, we are now sharpening our swords to battle the pandemic of racism and division. Our efforts to improve equity and access to education that celebrates differences are more important than ever. We are fighting COVID and we are fighting racism. Both are hard to see at times, but their effects can last a lifetime and be deadly. We will defeat both. While it can fill you with despair, I know we have educators that have always risen to the challenge in Connecticut. This will be no different. Things will continue to be different for a little while, creating major inconveniences and frustration. But we'll get through this. When times are tough, you need to look for silver linings or sources of inspiration to get you through. In Connecticut, there's no shortage of inspiration. From the early child care teachers that supported first responders and healthcare workers' children, the teachers working with students remotely, to the districts that are trying to connect with students where it is most difficult to reach. From the wonderful donations of books, computers, Lego, to the stories of students like Giselle Negret Campos from Platt High School in Meriden, who earned a $20,000 scholarship and will be going to get her teaching degree, the first in her family to go to college. Or a young man I was fortunate to meet just a little while ago, Brandon Demkowitz, who's standing here behind me. Let's give Brandon a round of applause. Not only is he the valedictorian of Farmington High School, he's going to go on to study medicine. He was one of 3 presidential scholars in the state of Connecticut. He's going to study medicine because he too is a survivor of cancer. That deserves another round of applause. Despite the major inconveniences and challenges with planning logistics and realizing that we're still having to sacrifice what we enjoy about our schools, our students keep us committed and inspired every day. We have the inspiration in front of us. They keep us going. Seniors have had to sacrifice so much due to the pandemic, and we're aware of that. The governor's announcement today of allowing flexibility in July for in-person graduation, outdoor graduations of up to 150 people after July 6th, if the COVID numbers permit, allows more flexibility in planning. While we recognize it is far from what we want, we must continue to follow guidance from our health experts to protect our students, our families, and our communities. This is not to diminish the wonderful work of our districts who have planned ceremonies to honor the seniors within the health and safety requirements of Connecticut. In many cases, those currently planned ceremonies are still the best option due to size limitations of organized events. An executive order will be forthcoming. With us today, we have 2 phenomenal district leaders. Dr. Kathy Greeter, Connecticut's Superintendent of the Year from here in Farmington, and Dr. Matt Conway, a student-centered and innovative leader from Derby. They will share their plans for graduation, and I think it's really important that we hear from students today too. So I know we'll be hearing from students. So I'd like to now turn it over to Dr. Kathy Greeter.
Well, I want to begin by welcoming you to Farmington High School, where we are one school, one community, one us. Our board chair, Ellen Sayuda, and other board members are here, along with our high school principal, Dr. Hurwitz. We are a really collaborative community here in Farmington, and that has been the case as we've planned graduation. First and foremost, I do want to begin by just saying a message to all of the members of the class of 2020 throughout Connecticut. You have served as leaders of your school district over the course of this year, but especially during the time of school closure when we needed you the most. Your resiliency and positive spirit have been an inspiration to all of us, and we can't wait to celebrate your accomplishments at the upcoming graduations. Our community has come together to be part of making this time very special for the class of 2020, from lawn signs to the signs that you saw when you were driving up to Farmington High of each of our graduates, lighting up the F Hill that we have, a very symbolic place here in Farmington, and our football field with 2020 virtual scholarship meetings and donations from community members, families, and Project Graduation, all to make the graduation special. Police, fire, and Farmington Health District working hand in hand with us, and our Board of Education and Town Council with their unwavering support. We reviewed several innovative solutions that would honor our graduating seniors while complying with the public health guidelines and Governor Lamont's executive orders. One of our guiding principles was to make graduation an event that truly honors the spirit and legacy of the class of 2020, and the other was to ensure the health and safety of all members and participants. So here are some details of Farmington's graduation. Based on the current health guidance, graduation will require all students and families to remain in their vehicles throughout the ceremony. At this time, graduation will be held at the Farmington Polo Grounds, and we thank the Polo Grounds for their partnership. This plan has been approved by Farmington Valley Health District and Farmington Police Department. All graduates will be allowed one passenger vehicle, and if someone needs a vehicle, we are providing transportation. The event is private and thus only open to graduates and their families who can safely fit into one car. There will be access to a large viewing screen so everyone can see all elements of graduation, radio transmission, and a live stream video. All students and families will park in a designated spot, just like they would have a designated graduation seat. We have worked with the health district on social distancing throughout the ceremony, and all participants will wear masks and gloves. There will be live speeches, just like we do for every graduation, for myself, our principal, our board chair, our selected teacher, and student speakers. Class advisors will call the name of each graduate, and that vehicle will be directed to receive their diploma. We remain hopeful that the conditions will allow us to move forward with not only this plan, but adapt based on guidance from public health and safety experts. We also have a few surprises planned for that day. The health and safety of our students and community is our primary focus, as it is in every school district, and that continues to guide our decisions. We will plan to adapt to the public health guidance and adjust as needed. We do have a graduation website with all the details of graduation. We worked with our students. We met with our students every week, and I know that this is similar to what other superintendents and school districts have done throughout Connecticut. It was a real community effort with our partners within our community and our students and our amazing principal, Dr. Hurwitz, all working together to make this graduation very special. Our students have sacrificed a lot, and so we need to come together for them and make this, just an outstanding celebration of their accomplishments. Thank you.
And thank you to Dr. Greeter for hosting today's event, press conference to announce the executive order to come to us shortly. This executive order, more than others, has changed things for students in Derby. And while Kathy touched on what all seniors have gone through this process, the transition to distance learning, the social isolation that they have endured, the challenge of greater independence, and as they struggle through assignments knowing that they must and will continue to do their absolute best. We saw them demonstrate something that we can learn from. We saw them demonstrate throughout this process grit. And I say that very strongly because not every class is going to have to endure what these seniors have, and I think we owe it to them to deliver on as great of a graduation ceremony as possible that can best resemble what they've dreamed about since kindergarten. In Derby, this decision that'll come out in executive order shortly greatly impacts our class of 74. Allowing up to 150 at the ceremony allows our graduates to be on the field together, the field they have dreamed about being on together since kindergarten. A long history in Derby of graduation on the football field, as many schools across this country. This was a game changer for our students. With this news, we will be able to begin the planning for graduation on the field, and with that planning, consider the most important people in our graduates' lives, their parents, and how we can make this impactful for them as well. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Thank you to the Commissioner for his advocacy and to the Governor for the executive order increasing this, at least for our graduates, to the 150. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Conway, Dr. Greeter. You heard two examples of what's happening in our districts. And as was mentioned earlier, all districts across the state are working really hard to honor the seniors. And it's time that we hear from some seniors. So I'm going to call Dr. Greeter up to introduce our guests.
So I'm just so proud to introduce Brandon Demkowitz. He's the class of 2020 valedictorian for Farmington High School, and he is also U.S. Presidential Scholar recipient. He is an extraordinary young man. The grit and determination that Brandon has exhibited in his time at FHS is amazing. He has proven to be extraordinary. Most impressively
is his ability to stay humble. Even with all of his successes and achievements, as talented and special as he has always remained level-headed and grounded. Brandon is an exemplar of what it means to lead by example. It's comforting to know that Brandon plans to take his genuine and caring personality, coupled with his incredible work ethic, resiliency, and intelligence, to the college level, where he will pursue a career in medicine, and I know he will make a significant impact on this world. Brandon.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the Commissioner and Governor Lamont for coming to our beautiful school today. It's our privilege to be hosting them for this press conference. I woke up this morning with probably the worst hair I've had in my life, with just all these curls and unkempt jungle of hair, and now I'm here speaking in front of all this news media. So I think it shows just what an atypical time we're living in right now, and that's just further reinforced by the fact that this field behind me right now at 420 is usually filled with several hundreds of students, not hundreds, but many students participating in practices, whether it's track and field or whatever it may be, and now it's empty. So although it has been a difficult, uncertain time, I just want to say thank you to our elected officials at the state level, the governor and the commissioner and all those involved, for addressing this unprecedented circumstance with a swift and decisive response so that we can mitigate the damage it'll cause to our community as much as possible. Though I think the governor will agree that the strength of our response could only be possible with the strong support of these local communities like we have here in Farmington, at the grassroots level, just kind of staying together and pushing through these difficult times. I'm especially proud of my own community here at Farmington High School. Just the students who have been able to maintain a positive spirit throughout this all, despite missing on some of their most, what would be some of their fondest moments in high school at the end of senior year. But they've managed to stay more connected than ever, I think, whether it be through FaceTime calls or meeting in parking lots socially distanced, or even staying politically and socially active, kind of raising awareness for the unrest unraveling in Minneapolis at this time. It just shows what an amazing, strong, tight community we have, and how no matter what is going on, they'll always stay together to try and make a positive difference in this world. Though, of course, that togetherness and unity is only reinforced by the amazing leadership we have in the school, not just our administration here at Farmington Public Schools, but also our student leadership. People like my good friend and class president, Tia Gohl, who have been working tirelessly to provide us all of the traditions that make senior year special, whether it be making graduation an event that we will remember fondly, continuing various traditions like Spirit Days online, digitally. I just want to say a big thank you to all those student leaders and our administration for helping guide us through this difficult time. So with that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce the next speaker. Thank you.
We have a student here today that was instrumental, along with other students, in planning our graduation. Sia Goyal consistently leads by example here at Farmington High School. She's consistently nominated by faculty, staff, and her peers for leadership roles all around FHS and even outside of our community. She's described as kind, hardworking, charismatic, and humble. She leads a lot of our work during Social Justice Week, and she is class president. And I know whenever Sia speaks, I feel overwhelming inspiration and hope. So Sia, come on up.
Thank you, Dr. Greeter, for such a wonderful introduction. I would like to start off this speech by thanking Dr. Hurwitz, the Board of Education, and every single person in Farmington Public Schools who makes it possible for students like me and Brandon and my peers to thrive and succeed at the level that we do. Farmington Public Schools has given students like me and Brandon numerous opportunities and countless experiences that will last us a lifetime. We have built bonds and relationships with our peers and teachers that will be everlasting, long, long after we've graduated. I want to thank Dr. Hurwitz for this year creating such a positive environment at the high school and really leading by example. Every single thing we've done this year in the 2019-2020 school year has had the theme of positivity and leading by example. And that's exactly what we've tried to embody and emulate with our special graduation. Everything that Farmington does is grounded in its beliefs, its core beliefs of equity and belonging. And I think that's really important to highlight here, that every single student who's graduating on June 11th through Farmington High School will be involved in our extremely special car graduation. For the past numerous weeks, me and my fellow student council leaders have been involved in planning our car graduation. We have worked tirelessly over the past few weeks to make sure and ensure that this graduation ceremony is special to Farmington and creates memories for graduates, parents, and residents that will not be forgotten. We have worked with the Farmington Valley Health District. We have proposed many different ideas, but I think one thing that we can all agree upon is that the car graduation that will happen at the Polo Grounds on June 11th will be something extremely special and extremely memorable. Thank you, and I would like to, thank you.
Thank you, Sia and Brandon. It's always great to hear from students themselves. As you heard, students have been a part of the planning, and while we can't change the health guidelines, we know that they're there to keep us safe and to keep them safe. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Governor Lamont.
Well, first of all, see, I love your optimism. You're right, this is special. This is a graduation, may not be the one you expected, but it is one you will never forget, and you're going to make it memorable. And Brandon, last week you could blame the haircut on me, not this week. Now it's on you, brother. But let me just say, you got a car graduation, you got a football field graduation, and I love the fact that the people behind us are making the best of what's a complicated situation. And look, a car graduation can be the most memorable graduation in the world. And I love, Brandon, when you say this COVID has, in an odd way, brought us together in terms of what we've all gone through. We'll never forget that time sitting next to each other. And look, I'm really happy for Derby. I mean, we thought long and hard about groups and how they get together and when we could open up for more outdoor activities. And we said up to 50 on June 20th. And we said up to 150 on July 6th. And that means that Derby can enjoy a graduation on your field, which I take it you've been doing for generations. And you got to be careful. You got to socially distance, you guys. Don't forget that over here. But it's a sign of progress. It's a sign that we're cautiously getting back to a new normal. And I hope to God that this works on June 20th. It works on July 6th. Everybody says, what can I do in August? Can we get up to 500? You know how this COVID has changed. Look where we were 2 months ago and look where we are today. I don't want to make any unrealistic predictions, but I am trying to say that if we stay disciplined with what we're doing, what I've seen from each and every one of you here, we're going to have progress on July 6th, and we're going to have progress beyond that as well. I would say we have had progress. I usually give the update on the numbers. Let me do that as well, because this is what we call our COVID daily update. And we had 112 new infections. I want you to know something. That's the lowest new infections we've had in well over 2 months. That's 112 infections out of 5,800 tests. So look, you're the valedictorian. What percent is that? That's about 2%, I'm told. And that's the lowest percentage positivity we have had in months. That doesn't mean this is our time to relax, our time to take our foot off the accelerator, our time to go to the Lake of the Ozarks and party. Just the opposite. It means this is a time for us to take a little credit for showing the discipline we did as we go forward. We also had 17 fatalities. That's our lowest in months, but that's still a reminder that we are still in a pandemic and we have to be cautious as we go forward. I could just tell you that we just had our video conference with the Vice President and his team, and it was sort of interesting. From my point of view, positive. I mean, a couple of days ago, the rhetoric coming out of the White House was pretty confrontational, and thankfully, in the conference today, you know, Vice President Pence said we're going to honor the memory of George Floyd, and he said and justice will be served. And he had a very measured and calming tone, which is really important for us here in this state. I salute the people of Connecticut. I look around what's going on in the rest of the country. I see the violence. I see some looting. I see the National Guard. I see curfews. And so far, because our police, working with the protesters, in many cases taking a knee and sharing the same dreams, we are working together. And I hope to God we can continue this, throughout. As we've worked together on COVID, we work together in eradicating racism and standing up together on both sides. And we've got a little altered stuff going on I-84 down in Danbury, but overall, it's been peaceful. And for that, I'm also thankful as we go through these incredibly complicated times. Anyway, I remember my graduation. I'm old, but it's not something you ever forget. It's a meaningful time. 4 years with some special people that you'll never forget. And believe me, after the last 4 months, you'll never forget. You'll be coming up back here and remembering the good, positive memories, because that's what I heard from each and every one of you. Thanks, everybody.
order apply to just high school graduations, or will you be raising the limit for all social and recreational gatherings to 150 people?
My instinct, Paul, is that we got 150 for graduations. It's a select group. You know who's coming in. You know who your neighbor is. You can socially distance. But we're going to think long and hard about what we can do for sort of smaller concerts and other outdoor events. And I think we'll be able to get there on July 6th as well. But let me talk to our healthcare committee one more time.
Governor, is that outdoor graduations?
Yes, outdoor graduations. As you know, the difference between outdoor and indoor is dramatic in terms of the infection rate.
And what about districts who have more than 150? Farmington has 300.
What we have said is we've got it capped at 150, but if you spread it out, you can do 2 or 3, 150 person graduations. You can phase that in if that is a place you want to go. Look, there's nothing wrong with a Zoom graduation. There's nothing wrong with a drive-in graduation as well, and that's the safest, but we're trying to give people some flexibility and let them plan a month out.
Do you have any response to the Restaurant Association who sent out a letter earlier today asking that they do indoor dining starting next Wednesday?
Everybody wants to get going yesterday. I appreciate that. We're one of the first states in the region, as you know, to do outdoor dining, and I went out for dinner. I thought it was pretty nice. I'm going to be a little cautious in terms of what the next round is. As you know, right now it's planned for June 20th. Maybe we can accelerate that a little bit, but it is close quarters. It means taking off the mask. We want to be cautious there.
Governor, there's an executive order today to allow for graduation. Is there going to be an executive order to extend services to special ed students who are aging out?
Let me get back to you on that, Christine.
Okay. I mean, do we have any sort of, the education commissioners here? Do we have
Yeah,
any
why don't
sort
you
of-
take that? Thanks, Miguel.
Hi. Yes. So we are maybe days away from giving guidance on that. That has come up a lot. What we're doing now is working with our partners who service students that age out to see what the best approach is for them. We're taking into account the perspectives of different partners in that process, and we're hoping at the State Department of Education to have something out in the next couple days.
Do you have any data on how much education these guys have received since they...
With me, I don't, but I can share that our State Department of Education, Bureau of Special Education, has been working closely with our partners and also listening to our families on what they have been getting, but also what they have been missing.
But if you don't extend that, how is that equitable and just?
Right. As I said, we are working to see what options we have, and we should be sharing information. I want to make sure that information comes out from the agency with input from others before commenting on it.
I know we're thinking ahead to graduation, but how is the Department of Education tackling all of the concerns with students not doing remote learning in cities like Hartford and other cities across the state? Thank you.
Yes, we recognize that COVID-19 has exacerbated gaps in access to learning. In our urban centers, many of our urban centers, not all, but many of our urban centers, access to technology, access to connectivity, and access to materials has been more challenging. We're more committed than ever to try to equalize access for our students, and what we're doing at the agency to do that is focusing our efforts on getting devices, focusing our efforts on trying to get connectivity, but also trying to create a platform where districts are not trying to recreate the wheel with regard to access to good quality curriculum. Our State Department of Education is going to try to make it so that when we get back to learning in the fall, there are greater resources that districts can use to address that lack of access for many.
Are there any updates on if the state is going to decide whether to do full remote learning, half remote learning, or anything in the fall?
We are still working on developing a plan for Connecticut. We're listening to families, we're listening to principals, teachers, students to make that decision, and working with the governor's team to try to have a plan ready within the next couple of weeks of what fall could look like. And keeping in mind that the best laid out plans are going to be determined mostly on how the COVID numbers are and whether or not it's safe to return to school. But we are planning actively for a fall opening.
Is there data overall as far as how much remote learning these children have gotten?
So it varies by districts. We do have surveys out there trying to indicate. We have some districts with over 95% connection rate daily. I'm hearing other districts we're still with hundreds of students that haven't connected regularly. So we are focusing in those districts. We have weekly meetings with districts that are struggling to have students connect, so we can try to provide support and share best ideas, because what might be working in one district could help another district reach those students. Who's your question?
Can you share what some of those options are that you are looking for the fall right now?
Well, you know, we've been looking at what other countries are doing, what other states are doing, and while that's important to look at, we have to keep in mind our context in Connecticut. And there are several options out there that are being discussed, options such as AM and PM, week on, week off, or focusing on getting younger age students in first, and focusing distance learning on the older grades mostly. So we're looking at all different options. At this point, we're not ready to commit to one, but we are looking at this aggressively.
On the Farmington, just to clarify, I assume the 150 or whatever is counts only the people who are outside. In other words, the people who are in the cars. That's way beyond 150, correct?
Correct. The 100.
Take me through those numbers.
Sure. The 150 is for outdoor in-person graduations, much like the traditional graduation that we know. The drive-up, there is no cap. As long as the safeguards that are expected are held, there is no cap on that. As long as you have the space, and I believe Farmington has a lot of space where they can bring cars in and have everyone spaced out adequately.
And Governor, I had a question on the with all these protests, et cetera, people are gathered in relatively tight. All right, whether on I-84 or 95 or whatever. Should the people who are in these protests, obviously not social distancing, should they be tested in the city that they have been in, whether it's Danbury today or Hartford, or what should be done to try to prevent the spread of infection, frankly?
Yeah, I would go to one of those drive-through testing facilities and get yourself tested if you've been in one of these protests. I've been sort of intrigued and interested and happy to see that most of the people there are wearing masks, but they are in pretty close quarters. I joked the other day that they were on I-84 right here in Hartford, and looked like we may have a real problem there, and one of the police took a knee and one of the protesters took a knee. Then they all locked arms and got up and walked away peacefully. And I said, well, I don't approve of locking arms. That's not socially distancing. But in this environment, I think it really sent a really good message. Hey, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here.